So as Sister said, we are on our American pilgrimage now. And this is stop number 13 on a 35-day old-fashioned whistle stop bus tour.
35 City.
35 City, that's right. 50 days. We'll do it sometime in mid-October. And so we thank you for being part of the tour. We don't have a $40 million ad campaign to carpet bomb the airwaves. What we do have is a $40,000 bus. We've been traveling on that for the past 15 days, 14 days. So thank you. What we'd like to do is just sort of open it up for your questions. And just let's go. Very, very hard to see. Is there a way to dim that a bit?
Yeah. Okay, here's the young lady with a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, the church scene with the flying incense was something I had never seen anything like that before. And
The incense, yeah.
How did you get permission to film there, and what kind of reception did you get?
I thought you never asked. You can all hear the question. That scene was filmed in the Cathedral de Santiago de Compostela. It is a tradition at the end of the Pilgrim's Mass. There's a Pilgrim's Mass every day at noon o'clock. And it doesn't happen every day, but on special days they have the what they call the Butufamera. It is the huge incense burner. The tradition goes back to the Middle Ages, when pilgrims would come from all over Europe, and they would have walked, some of them, for months and months and months. And when they got to Santiago, they would have to stay in the cathedral. The hygiene of the day was not the very best. They used to stink up the joint, let's be honest about it. And so the incense was to freshen the air. What you see in the picture, it just went, nearly all the cathedrals in the world are in the shape of a cross. So this one you see goes the crossbar, but on huge feast days or special occasions, they also take it the length of the cathedral. So yeah, they did that special for us. We did not have permission to shoot in the cathedral until 48 hours before we arrived in Santiago, and with good reason. They never allowed a film crew in there, ever. Only newsreel footage and documentaries, and for a very short period of time. But they were convinced that we were honoring the sacred tradition of the Camino, and we had a connection well, my late father, I was a Gallego. He grew up about 80 miles from Santiago, and our partners in Spain were Gallegos as well. So they prevailed, and we had a lot of prayer and lighting candles along the way, and finally 48 hours outside of Santiago, they gave us permission. And it was one of the great miracles that we were allowed to film in there, and you see the result.
What led you to do this story?
Did everyone hear the question? What led us to do the story? It really comes down to one individual, and I'll get to him in a moment. In 2003, Mark was curious about going to Camino. It was during the hiatus of West Wing. He usually in hiatus about 6 weeks. So he done most of the hiatus of vacation going to Ireland, and he only allocated 2 weeks to go to Spain. And if you know about the Camino, you know it takes a good 6 weeks to do it on foot. So in 2 weeks, they didn't have a shot. So he went with my son, Taylor, who was 19 at the time, working as his assistant, and with our great friend Matt Clark, who appears as priest/rabbi. So off they went to Santiago, 2 weeks, totally unprepared, no backpacks, no walking sticks, none of it. The first stop was a town called Burgos, which is the town where the little boy, the gypsy boy, steals the backpack. They stayed in it's called a Casa Rural. It's a bed and breakfast where they take pilgrims in. And they had a supper that night, the pilgrim supper, where Matt and my father and my son Taylor were sitting. In walks the innkeeper's daughter. My son fell in love. He came home, said, I'm moving to Spain, Dad. If you want to see me, you'll have to come visit. He married her. He's been living there for the last 8.5 years. So I took his advice. I said, yeah, I will have to come work in Spain. And so we began a dialogue at that point and said, okay, we're going to do a movie on the Camino, because he was keen to do it. What is it? Let's figure out a dramatic narrative that gets you to Spain. What's the advice? So I said, I think, essentially, this is a retelling of the Wizard of Oz. I said, I think there must be some emotional tornado, the death of his son, that picks him up out of California, that drops him in Spain. He's a stranger in a strange land. He's no longer in Kansas. He meets the Cowardly Lion in the Dutchman. He meets the Tin Man in Sarah, who has a hole in her heart from this horrible choice that she made. And he meets the Scarecrow in the Irishman, who has no brain. Santiago, well, his suffering from life. And Santiago is our Emerald City. So once we sort of had that framework, the route was mapped out for us. Yes, sir.
It's a beautiful movie. Very moving story.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say thank you for including the beautiful pro-life message, recognizing the humanity of the woman's daughter and the connection that she had at losing the baby. It was very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We thought it was important to give voice. We thought it was very important to give voice to the unborn. And when she says, interestingly enough, I know it sounds crazy, but I hear my daughter speaking to me. It's not crazy to him because he's seeing his son. So they are kindred spirits in that moment. And he gets it. And he gets the pain that she's living in. And he becomes a father to her in many ways.
I think she also experiences a profound experience at the Cruz de Ferro when she tosses the rock. That prayer that she's been carrying through the whole journey was about that child. And she couldn't continue the prayer